All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a book that honestly could completely change your life. It's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's all based on ancient Toltec wisdom. It's all about finding personal freedom, and trust me, it's a powerful one. So let's get right into it.
So the book kicks off with this really big question, and I want you to think about it for a second. Are you truly free? And I'm not just talking about, physical freedom. I mean, are you free to be who you really are? According to the Toltecs, the answer for most of us is no. We're kind of trapped, living by a set of rules we never actually chose, and a lot of the time, we don't even know it's happening.
So why? Why aren't we free? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we have to understand this idea that Ruiz calls the dream of the planet. And no, it's not what you dream about when you're asleep. Think of it more like the collective reality we're all dropped into, society's big rule book, all the beliefs, the laws, everything that shapes how we see the world from the second we're born.
And how does this happen? The book uses a really strong word for it: domestication. Yeah, I know it sounds intense, but just think about it. When we're kids, how do we learn to behave? It's all through this system of reward and punishment, right? We get attention and praise when we follow the rules, and we get corrected or punished when we don't. We are basically trained, just like you'd train any animal, by the world around us.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. This whole process, it doesn't just stay on the outside. It comes inside and starts a full-on war in our own minds. We basically absorb this system, and it creates these two characters inside us. First, there's the inner judge. This is the voice that is constantly criticizing everything we do based on that giant rulebook we never even chose. And then there's the victim. That's the part of us that takes all that judgment, all that blame, and carries around this heavy feeling that we're, just not good enough.
And what's crazy is, after a while, this cycle gets so deep that we don't even need anyone else to judge us anymore. We do it all to ourselves. That inner judge becomes our own worst critic. The book puts it perfectly. We make one tiny mistake, and that judge in our head makes us pay for it 1,000 times. It's just this relentless, exhausting cycle of self-abuse.
So, if we're stuck in this crazy loop of self-judgment and fear, is that it? Are we just doomed? No, absolutely not. And that's the best part. The book doesn't just point out the problem and leave us hanging. It gives us a really powerful, super practical way to break free.
The whole path to freedom, it starts with this one big idea. Our lives are built on thousands and thousands of tiny agreements. Agreements we made with ourselves, with society, with everyone. And the problem is, so many of them are based on fear. So the solution? We have to get brave. We have to break those old fear-based agreements and start making new ones that come from a place of love.
And that brings us to the core of it all, the four agreements. That's it, just 4 simple rules. But don't let the simplicity fool you. These are profoundly powerful principles that are designed to completely smash those old patterns of fear and totally transform our lives. So let's break them down one by one.
All right, the first agreement. This one is probably the most important of them all because it's about the single most powerful tool we have as humans, our word. The book literally describes our words as being pure magic. They're a force that can create the most beautiful things, or they can destroy absolutely everything.
So, what on earth does it mean to be impeccable with your word? Well, the word impeccable literally means without sin. But hold on, this isn't about religion. A sin here just means anything you do that goes against yourself. So being impeccable with your word means you stop using your words against yourself. You use them for truth, for love, and you refuse to use them to hurt anyone, including you. And the book gives this just heartbreaking example of how powerful this is. Picture this. A little girl is singing, she's happy, her mom's had a long day, she's tired, and she just snaps at her. "Shut up! You have an ugly voice." In that 1 second, the little girl believes her. She makes an agreement that her voice is ugly, and she never sings again. That one phrase, thrown out without thinking, cast a spell that changed her entire life. That is the kind of power our words have.
And this brings us to what the book calls the worst kind of black magic you can do with your words: gossip. Ruiz uses this perfect metaphor for it. He calls it a computer virus for the human mind. And it's so true, right? It just spreads emotional poison, creates all this drama, and totally breaks down trust between people. And the scary part is, it usually hides out as just harmless conversation.
Okay, so if gossip and negative words are like a poison, how do we protect ourselves? Well, that's what the next 2 agreements are all about. They're basically our defense system. They're practical tools to help us stop creating that poison and, just as important, to stop absorbing it from other people.
The second agreement is don't take anything personally. And let me tell you, this one is a total game changer. It's all about fighting that little voice in our head, our ego, that thinks everything is about me. But the truth is, what other people say and do, it's a reflection of their reality. It's their movie, their dream. It has almost nothing to do with you. And when you can really truly get that, you basically become bulletproof to other people's opinions.
Okay, number 3, don't make assumptions. Oh man, we are all so guilty of this one. We just love to fill in the blanks, right? We create these entire dramatic stories in our heads, and then we treat them like they're the absolute truth, all because we're too afraid to just ask. This one habit is the source of so much needless drama and misunderstanding. The solution is super simple. Even if it's not always easy, just have the courage to ask questions, communicate clearly.
And that brings us to the fourth and final agreement. This is the one that really ties everything together. It's the one that takes the other 3 from just being nice ideas and turns them into actual life-changing habits. It's all about action.
And it is always do your best. Now, this sounds easy, but there's a really important catch. Your best isn't some fixed, perfect standard. It changes all the time. Your best when you're feeling great and full of energy is going to be totally different from your best when you're sick or tired. This agreement is all about giving yourself a break. It's about letting go of that self-judgment and just doing what you can, in this moment. It's a reminder that you're here to live and be happy, not to burn yourself out trying to be perfect.
And something really cool happens when you practice this. Your whole motivation changes. You stop doing things just to get some reward at the end, and you actually start to enjoy the action itself. You're not fighting your way through life anymore. You're just living it. The rewards? Oh, they'll still show up, but they become a nice bonus, not the whole point of the game.
So, when you start to practice all 4 of these agreements day in and day out, something amazing begins to happen. You start to completely transform your reality. You begin to tear down that old dream of hell, that life that's run by fear and that inner critic, and you start to build your own personal dream of heaven instead.
So what does this new dream even look like? Well, it's pretty simple. It looks like freedom. It's freedom from that nagging judge in your head. Freedom to be exactly who you are without being terrified of what other people think. It's the freedom to love with your whole heart, no holding back. Really, it's the freedom to finally be the person you were always supposed to be, before the world told you to be something else.
Look, the biggest takeaway from the 4 agreements is this. Happiness is a choice. Suffering might feel like it's just part of the deal, but it doesn't have to be. The power to change your entire reality, to create your own dream, it's right there in your hands. So the real question isn't what this book can do for you. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? Which agreement are you going to start living by today?